If, like myself, you acquired your driving licence in the 1990s, then there's a very good chance that you will have done so at the wheel of a Vauxhall Corsa B. In my case, actually a Corsa B 1.5 turbo diesel GLS. Sheer decadence in terms of driving skills, so probably the envy of all the test centre. Aside from a very brief stint with a Corsa C over 20 years ago, I've not actually been behind the wheel of a Vauxhall Corsa since. So it's going to be quite interesting to see how this new model stacks up here on Mark on Motoring. Now, this car landed with us this week rather unexpectedly, so I haven't had a lot of chance to prepare for this. Obviously, if I'm reviewing one of my own cars, then I've had plenty of time behind the wheel to gain a feel for it. And obviously, when I'm reviewing a car that's been loaned to me, usually I'll have a little bit of time in advance to do my research. So based on the day or so's research that I've done on this car, I've deduced from doing a registration check that this car is fitted with a 1.2 litre engine, and a nosy under the bonnet, I could see that that is actually a 3-cylinder unit. I've had a look on Vauxhall's website, and based on the specification of this car, I think this is a range topping model, which would currently be the Ultimate, although this one doesn't have the Alcantara upholstery, and it's a few years old, so I think this may be the Elite model. Obviously, manufacturers do often change their model designations and specifications from time to time. Being the range topper and the fact I've got the 6-speed gearbox in here, I've deduced that this is actually the turbocharged version of the 1.2 litre engine. There are 3 engine variants available in this model. All are based around the 1.2 litre 3-cylinder engine, although one is a normally aspirated, producing 75 horsepower. The one in this particular car is the 100 horsepower, which also gets you the 6-speed manual gearbox. There's also a 130 horsepower version of the engine, mated to an 8-speed automatic transmission. As you would expect from a top spec car, this is not short of equipment. So for example, this car comes with things like heated seats and even a heated steering wheel, although I will admit some of the buttons do feel a little bit small and fiddly for my fingers. This car also has a nice set of black and diamond cut alloy wheels, which do look really nice on the car. GS line models, which is the mid-spec, would add a little bit of flair, as you do get some nice contrasting red strip across the dashboard and on the seats. The interior in this car is quite dark. We have got this sort of dark grey, sort of black finish on the dashboard here, with a piece of silver trim. We've also got some sort of glossy inserts on the front doors as well. But I will say, most of this is hard plastic. All this door is hard plastic. Got some rather small door pockets which are also plastic. There's no felt lining in there, so if you put anything in there, it is probably going to slide around and make a horrible scratchy noise. Again, most of the centre console and dash is all hard plastic, but this top part is a sort of a soft touch material, though I'm not sure. It's a strange sort of rubberised material, and it feels a little bit odd. I do like the fact that Vauxhall have resisted putting a black headliner in this car though. I think this brighter coloured headliner, this light grey, does make the car feel much brighter inside. Without, it would be far too dark for sure. This model has also got a nice bit of leather trim on the seats and on this door card as well, just to break it up a little bit. Something I do like is how this driver favourite dashboard, how it sort of wraps around, which is really nice. Obviously we've got this large screen in the centre, 2 different sizes available. Obviously this being the top spec is a larger screen, and it's sort of angled upwards a little bit. Now there are some separate heater controls down here, but I will admit they are sort of tucked away a little bit down there, and they are quite small. Many of the functions though you do have to use this touchscreen for, which is pretty much commonplace these days. But as I say, I am glad that Vauxhall have kept the main controls, so that you can change things like the temperature and fan speed without having to go through all the menus. In addition to that large centre screen, we do also have a digital display behind the driver. In its current mode, it shows a larger speedometer, and across the bottom we do have this sort of narrow strip speedo and fuel gauge, almost as a bit of a footnote, though you can display other information such as navigation if you so wish. Now the 100 horsepower engine in this car is pretty gutsy, I will admit. Well, one criticism of this 3-cylinder, it is rather gruff. I know 3-cylinders do tend to have a bit of a growl to them, but certainly when you start the car up it sounds very agricultural indeed. Once at a cruising speed though, it's quite hushed and you would hardly know it were there, but certainly not as refined as a 4-cylinder, and even a 3-cylinder engine that a friend of mine has in a Fiesta van does feel more refined than what it does in this car. Now, something I recall from Corsa B was that the cars did feel quite floaty, and on a country road they could feel a little too bouncy. This was addressed with Corsa C, but I must admit the cabin quality I didn't think was particularly good even for the time on the Corsa C. But in here, yeah, everything does feel quite solid. This car's a few years old with just short of 29,000 miles on the clock, and everything in here does feel quite solid. That I think is pretty impressive considering that this is a hire vehicle, and let's face it, we all know hire cars can sometimes have quite a hard life. Now sadly we do have a little bit of traffic ahead, but certainly at this speed the car does feel quite composed. The car certainly has plenty of power, steering feels nicely weighted. I think Vauxhall's done quite a good job. They seem to have struck a nice note between ride comfort and handling. Now one thing I am quite aware of, certainly when I first got in this car, is the brakes. Again, considering this car's by no means brand new, the brakes are incredibly keen, to the extent where the first time you so much as hover your foot over the brake pedal, you feel as though your eyeballs are going to pop out. Like all Super Minis, it has grown quite a lot over earlier generations, but it certainly doesn't feel excessively big, and it's easy enough to place. This particular model has a reversing camera on it, although not the highest resolution, I will admit. But it is quite useful to have because, again, like a lot of modern cars, the C-pillars are huge and they do leave quite a large blind spot. Now, even on these narrow country roads, the car is quite easy to place. And yeah, road holding is quite competent. One thing we do have to discuss, of course, is pricing. Again, with a lot of modern cars, even Super Mini class, you are talking quite a lot of money these days. Now, the Corsa starts at just under £17,500 for the base model. You're talking maybe another £1,000 or so again on top if you want the GS line, and if you're wanting one of these range topping models, or the Ultimate as it is now, you're actually talking in the region of about £23,000 to £24,000, which is rather a lot of money. What's more, when I've actually looked at the basic spec car, you seem to actually get everything that you realistically would want. Okay, so you don't get the diamond cut wheels, but you do get alloy wheels. You also get things like air conditioning and cruise control. What's more, all cars do come with Android Auto and Apple CarPlay compatibility, which I know will be something that's on a lot of people's list. I would probably avoid the normally aspirated 1.2 though. My gut feeling generally is that the 75 horsepower normally aspirated unit probably just isn't quite enough for this car, especially if you've got passengers in the vehicle with you. The 130 horsepower one's probably not necessary, and as I say, to what I could see, I think that is actually only available with the automatic gearbox, which does make the car more expensive still. There is also an electric version of the Corsa, but they start at a whopping £29,000, so you've really got to want to have one to pay that kind of money. By all means, if Corsas float your boat, then yeah, by all means go for the ultimate bells and whistles model, but to me it just doesn't quite feel special enough to justify that hefty price tag. Now personally, I think what I would spec is the base model car, but what I would do is go for the turbocharged 100 horsepower engine, which is going to set you back around an extra £1,000, so you're talking about £18,500. and probably metallic paint as well, which is another £600 to £700 depending on which one of the 4 colours you choose. Personally, I would probably go with the red, which is a £700 option. Other choices I think was silver, I think there was a grey, and the standard colour is white. I wouldn't go for black, which is on this car. To be honest, as you know, black is a pig to keep clean, but another thing is I think it hides some of the lines of the car a little bit. Now, depending which version of the Corsa you go for, some do actually have a contrasting roof, and they all do have a black strip that intersects the C-pillar. Obviously on a black car, that's sort of all hidden, it disappears. If you do go for a model with a contrasting roof, one of the other colours really do suit the car quite well. It almost sort of makes the car look lower and longer with this sort of floating roof design. Well, I hope you found this short review of the Vauxhall Corsa useful, a car that is certainly worth giving some consideration to if you're in the market for a new Super Mini. There will be more videos coming along soon, including that new car reveal that I have been promising you for quite a while now. If you do like the videos and you haven't already done so, please hit that subscribe button and the bell notification. If you've enjoyed the video, give us a thumbs up. If you've anything to add, please do let me know in the comments below, and I will catch you on the next one. Thanks very much for watching.